Hey, what's going on? Thank you for subscribing to this channel, watching these videos, watching these podcasts. I love stand-up comedy, and I'm kind of doing these podcasts to get better at stand-up and to promote some of the shows that I'm doing. I'm trying to live stream most of the shows I'm doing this summer to provide free content, because that from the beginning, that's what I aim to do, to provide free content, because I believe in that. I'm kind of the last of the Mohicans stand-up comedian-wise, because I don't even have a Patreon. There's no axes to grind, no dues or fees you have to pay. I don't own a supplement company. I'm not trying to force feed or shove down your throat any ideology. I'm not hijacked by a business or whatever. It's free content, and I'm not trying to make people think in any way. It's literally, I just love stand-up comedy, and that's why I do this. So if you want to support this podcast, the Anti-George Carlin George Carlin podcast, the most comedic podcast in the world, dude, on the planet, go to Spotify or wherever you get the music that you listen to. And some of the songs I use in the intros for the podcast, I own 100%. So go and add it to a playlist, go on Spotify, whatever. Without further ado, this podcast today is basically on aliens and pyramids, which I do find extremely fascinating. First of all, it's fascinating that there are pyramids on every continent and have been for the past 10,000 years. We're obsessed with pyramids, the Greeks, mathematical formulas. It's preposterous how much we are obsessed with pyramids. Do I think that aliens made them or it's supernatural in any way? No, but it is fascinating that they're everywhere. And every civilization has kind of worshipped these pyramids. That's the most fascinating part. I don't think there's anything past that, right? I think that they're cool. That's about it. So without further ado, here's the podcast. And I don't believe in aliens. Just putting that out there.
Beware the strapper. No, actually, that is the Big Dipper. And some things you just don't have a clue. Always thought I knew you, but I didn't have a clue. Is your favorite color purple? And you know I could never find.
Welcome to the greatest comedy podcast in world history. And nowadays you can say things like that since our country decade mentally. And just this year we had Mike Tyson get knocked out by Jake Paul. So when I get my Netflix comedy special, I'll say I told you. This is the greatest comedy podcast on the planet, the Anti-George Carlin George Carl podcast. What's happening? This is the most powerful, dude. The most powerful. Look at these guns, dude. This is the most powerful podcast on the planet, dude. Maybe the most powerful entity on the planet. And we're in a weird time right now. Do aliens exist? It's not a clickbait. No, I do not believe in aliens. I don't know any smart men. And I'm a scientist, so I may be biased and more informed than most people, but I don't know any smart men that I respect that believe in aliens. I think it's all women that mainly, and I respect women too, but it's mainly women that I know personally that believe in aliens. I don't know Joe Rogan, but I listened to one of his podcasts on Egypt and advanced technology, dude. Reverse engineer propulsion mechanisms, dude. Oh my God, what don't we know? And it is fun to talk about mysteries and things we don't know, but look, it's all nonsense in my opinion. But dude, some of the granite stones were from 500 miles away, dude, from a quarry. What do you have to say about that? Are you just a contrarian, dude? You don't believe in the magical construction of Egyptian pyramids, and you don't believe in propulsion, reverse engineering, dude? I don't even know what that means, first of all. And you hear people talk about that work now, and it's commonplace to be talking about frippery nonsense, magical propulsion mechanisms, and stuff about Egypt. I know my grandparents in the 50s went to Egypt. They enjoyed it. They thought it was cool. I don't think it was magically constructed. Maybe we are aliens ourselves. Who knows, right? All I know is that the Egyptians had one thing right, and they talked about consciousness. And I believe that consciousness is the most powerful entity on the planet. You're as close to God consciousness as I am, as close as the new Pope is to God consciousness. That's been commonly repressed, and for good reason, because then you can control and manipulate people. If people have an immense amount of fear in their lives, you can manipulate them. And I think that's part of the agenda of pushing out this alien nonsense. The statistical odds of us encountering aliens tomorrow or in the near future are practically zero. I don't think it's going to happen. And another thing is like, you're just a contrarian. Say you don't believe in the Egypt, the 500 miles away, the granite that formed the perfectly symmetrical pyramids in Egypt. You don't believe that they had some advanced technologies. Look, we are in timescale wise, we are closer to Cleopatra than Cleopatra was to the construction of the pyramids. Some of the new theories out there think that the Egyptian pyramids were like 40,000 years old. That's crazy. So a lot can happen in 40,000 years. I think that if you have a team of 10 scientists can accomplish a preposterous amount of work in 2 years, let alone 40,000. I think there was like 7 million slaves in total that helped form the pyramids. So look, you can accomplish a lot in 40,000 years. 40,000 years? That's crazy. So I don't think that we lost all this. Yeah, look, some stuff was lost. Okay, I agree with that. Since the Industrial Revolution, I think a lot of these monopolies that formed, you don't think they had some secrets that they died with? My grandfather died with like 30 magic tricks and card tricks. He was the best at cards. He died with like 30. Like, how did he do that? Even today, we still ask ourselves that question. I think that happens. And then you have like a generation like mine and the youngest generation that goes, hey, let's have a free flow of information. Let's not do that. And people just die with all their secrets. They're selfish and they just die with their money and their secrets. No, we want to keep the generations going. We want the free flow of information to occur so everyone prospers. So that's what happens when you have too much of that. And I think that's kind of what happened, along with, obvious lies and manipulation. I think that we are in the most gullible and vulnerable state because everyone doesn't really trust the government right now with COVID. Is anyone an expert, dude? I don't believe in this stuff. Look, I think like we are in a like trans. Like I can become a woman tomorrow and people will believe it. I'm Michelle now. People go along. I could wake up an African American. That's how gullible people are. I could wake up a black dude tomorrow and be like, yeah, Ross is black now, dude. He's black now. All right, dude. He's. I'm like, yo, what's up, dude? I start being black. What? What does that even mean? I don't even know what I'm talking about. But people are that. If I just woke up and tomorrow my skin is black, I'm a African American race. I'm of the African American race. People will go along with it. That's how gullible our population is right now. We'll hear one thing on the podcast and go, that's a paradigm shifting idea, and now I believe in it? What? No, there's never been a time in my lifetime where people were that susceptible to garbage. And I think that has to do with like the news dying. No one knows where to get their information. And for the first time, we're kind of the captains of our own ship, so to speak. And that's scary for most people because most people follow. That's the truth. Most people like to have their everything in their nice, neat box, and they go, I'm supposed to be doing this and this, and they don't like to think too much. So with the internet, right now it's kind of like drinking out of a fire hose. Oh, dude, there's too much information. So the best thing to do in this time period is to reduce the volume of information you are receiving, because probably all of it is garbage. Aliens in Egypt and stuff. No, this is all. It's cool. It's interesting, I guess, in very small doses. But you sound like a madman. People are repeating this stuff at work. They hear on like a Joe Rogan podcast, which again, I don't know any smart men in my life that believe in aliens. I just don't. But they'll repeat stuff they hear in that podcast at work and stuff like that, and it's insane. So reducing the amount of information that you're receiving may be the antidote. Like just read a book, read a Stephen King novel, fiction. Like I'm reading this one book about this dude that time travels right now. And he goes in this pantry in this diner. It's also a Netflix show, which you'll see my comedy special on, dude, in 10 years, dude. Guarantee it, dude. Because this is the most powerful podcast, the most powerful comedy podcast on the interweb, dude. And you should be watching this one for sure, because I don't even sell anything, dude. I'm like the last of the Mohicans. I'm like the last comedian that's not trying to, everyone has a supplement company. Someone's trying to sell you merch. It's insane, dude. They don't care about you. I'm like the last of the Mohicans that actually is like, I have no tricks up my sleeve, dude. I do it for the love of the game. I love comedy, and I'm just, all these are kind of just free flow off the dome piece. And I'm doing it as like a rant style, I guess. And that's, not many people are doing that. They all have some motivations. They have some supplement company, or they are hijacked by some marketing team. You have to sell this product, Lucy's, or whatever it is, dude. You can't listen to a podcast now without being bombarded by coercion. And that's very scary, dude. That's really scary, actually, to think of. Like, I'm the only podcast that I know of that I'm not like influenced or manipulated by any outside source. So I have no, like, I'm not trying to make people think in any way. I want you to think how you think, and to foster that, and actually think on your own, because right now everyone is being led in a weird direction. That's true. And it's been like that for the past 5 or 6 years now. It's very strange. And you're being force-fed the narratives, even how you vote, whatever it is. You're being force-fed that. And if you take a step back, take a deep breath, recognize that you're a 10 out of 10, that's never going to change. I don't know if we'll find aliens tomorrow or next week, but I guarantee it's dead on the money that your consciousness is the most powerful entity on the planet. That's it. I think that's the last of the Mohicans. If we can conquer consciousness, we can create a heaven on earth. And that's, I think, our purpose on this planet. Not to leave and go to terraform Mars. I think this is it, dude. I think that this is possibly heaven on earth, and we can make it into the coolest place possible. And we should be trying to do that before trying to go into AI and all this stuff. Like, let's make this world that we live in awesome. And then from there, if we need to, Joe Rogan's whole thing is we're this electronic caterpillar. Oh, dude, I don't know, dude. I think we have to unlearn. Straight up. I think that we may have to unlearn. Like, stop. Just stop. Take a deep breath and smell the roses, so to speak. Because life can be pretty kick-ass if you do that. Anyways, I got a few shows coming up. I might be live streaming this one on the 31st. It's at the Boyd Movie Theater Room in Bethlehem, PA. That one is this Saturday. I'm super excited about that because it's going to be the greatest comedy show of all time, dude, in world history. It may be the greatest moment in comedic world history. And I will live stream that, and I'll try and set it up so you get a very good view of the stage and these awesome comedians in the Lehigh Valley, some of the best in the Lehigh Valley, dude. So keep your eyes peeled for that. That's going to be around 7:30 on May 31st. Then we got the Bethlehem BREW Works. That's June 13th. It's Friday the 13th, second week in June. That's at the BREW Works in Bethlehem, PA. And then we have Northeast's the NEPA funniest comic. That's that's June 8th. That's June 8th. So we got a few shows coming up. So if you are in the Lehigh Valley, check it out. I'll post it on Instagram because I have to get an Instagram now, which really stinks, dude. I'm not a huge social media dude, but it's kind of a necessary evil, I guess, in 2025. You are bombarded, and I don't want to bombard anyone. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just trying to have a good time and encourage others to have a good time. That's it, dude. Keeping things very simple, dude. A little simple Jack coming at you, dude. All right, that's it, dude. We're going to wrap this sucker up, dude. All right, peace out, Girl Scouts.